This is Things You Might Not Have Heard, and I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and for you, queued up today, we have 8 stories, as we do for a Friday, that were from the past day, the Thursday, that vetted by you as conversations. These topics are what you said you want to talk about, and we hope we picked the right ones. They cover information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. Mike Waltz is in the news, where we're talking about his lateral move. Steve Smith Jr., Sr., I should say, I'm sorry, in the news, not confused with Stephen A. Smith, who's also in the news. Steve Smith Sr. in a bad way. Stephen A. Smith getting a endorsement of sorts. And, of course, 5 of the stories, all adjacent to stories you want to chat up here. 3 things right here. The Conversation Project's website home. This is theconversationproject.com. More about us, how about us, and the where about us on that website. Also, check out our sponsor for the day. It happens to be us today. Very boring investment advice and the newsletters. We'll talk about that in just a bit. And of course, email us as you please at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. We can discuss anything you want to from there and beyond. Today happens to be Friday, May the 2nd, 2025. I will address some issues I had yesterday, some distress issues I had, including the kind of the extra burpee things going on towards the end of the show. Technically, I was dying, but that's fine. We'll talk about that later. But as we say every day here, getting into the news articles, these articles, these stories, these headlines are no particular order. They're the orders that have the best narrative for the day from top to bottom, starting off with something serious and ending with a kicker. We'll explain some bits and pieces of engagement, how they got here, there as they go along, if it pertains. But these are 8 stories from the large batch of stories to explain in a bit that you deemed were conversational. So we're talking about them, and hopefully they're the right ones. We're kicking it off with Mike Waltz, and let's state this to be clear. Now, Matt Gaetz did not get a shot to be Attorney General because he's Matt Gaetz, and Elise Stefanik did not get her shot to be the UN ambassador because they actually needed her to go back to Congress and they needed her vote. Mike Waltz was actually installed. Mike Waltz had a spot. He was working as NSA head, and he's not there anymore. Whether your semantics says it was a shift or the shaft depends. But the headline we have for this one, which when Robot Editor did it, sort of messed up the whole vibe of it, is this. Trump picks Mike Waltz as UN ambassador after NSA exit rumors. It's not a rumor. He was out of the NSA. Yesterday, Donald Trump, late in the afternoon, announced the nomination of former National Security Advisor Mike Waltz as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. He was the former National Security Advisor of the morning when he was shifted out of that job and get job given to Marco Rubio. We'll get to him in a moment. The decision follows Waltz's departure from the previous role after the security breach involving the accidental inclusion of a journalist in a confidential signal chat discussing military operations in Yemen. Dubbed Signalgate, because everything's a gate, raised concerns on handling of classified information within the administration. Despite the controversy, Trump praised Waltz's service and expressed his confidence in his ability to represent the U.S. at the UN. This is not necessarily a unprecedented move where both John Bolton under Trump was both a UN ambassador and an NSA head, not at separate times, not as a sort of a shift, just basically when Trump needed someone to do one thing, he did something else. It just sort of happened. Now, in the interim, Marco Rubio becomes a person like a true Cuban with 4 jobs. He is now the acting national security advisor. He's also Secretary of State. He's also head of USAID, and he's also the Solicitor General or the Archivist or something or other. He's got 4 literal roles that work back and forth. The kicker on this one is being the NSA advisor and being the Secretary of State. The NSA person usually is the buffer between Secretary of State and the Department of Defense. Since he is both the buffer and the Secretary of State, we'll see if he gets a chance to poke Pete Hegseth with some things going forward. Now, let's go about this whole thing going forward. The UN ambassador was open because Lisa Stefanik, who's a representative in New York, was pulled from that role because they needed her to vote in Congress to make sure that Trump's agenda went forward. So she got a loss on that one. She actually said, pack your stuff, and was headed to New York and was told last minute, nope, we got to put you back in here. Whether you want to see this as, I said, the shaft because he was removed from his job to be able to take this other job, or a shift where it's not necessarily a lateral move, it's more of a demotion because it really means less as a UN ambassador. Mike Waltz is now going to be up for and must be confirmed as a UN ambassador. So they have to go for the process again. I believe he had to be confirmed by the Senate the first time. So a second confirmation means, yes, they can ask him about Signalgate. They can. It's there. It's going to happen. Our second story for the morning took us a few days to get to this one, but Donald Trump hit 100 days a few days ago, something like that. And on the same day he was giving a sort of a victory speech on that one, Kamala Harris emerged from her hole to talk to the people and bring up some rumors. We'll talk about her later on when we talk about teaser stories for the weekend. But Kamala Harris did some criticism, as you expect, on Trump, the economy, and democracy in her return speech to the market. Former Vice President Kamala Harris delivered a forceful critique of Donald Trump and the administration during a speech happening on April the 30th, marking her first major public address since the 2024 election. Actually, when she lost, she went away, and people were questioning what's going to happen next. Joe Biden came out first with his speeches, and they did not play so well. This one played a little better. But let's get into what happened, what actually went down. She condemned Trump's economic policies, particularly his tariff strategies, labeling them as absolute chaos, as a quote, and attributing them to the looming recession. Not quite here, but we're pretty sure it's coming. She argued that these policies have led to increased consumer prices, job losses, and decline in retirement savings. As Harris stated, tariffs that, as I predicted, are clearly inviting a recession. Another quote. Beyond the economic concerns, Harris actually accused Trump administration of undermining democratic institutions, highlighting the actions such as attacks on the judiciary and the promotion of loyalists over truth tellers, warning that these moves are leading the country towards a constitutional crisis. She emphasized the importance of civic engagement, urging that Americans remain vigilant and active in demanding democratic values. She praised judges and citizens who have resisted and described as unconstitutional demands, asserting that, quote, the one power that must not fail is the voice of the people. So why should we care? Why should we care? Once again, why should we care? Harris is making plans for something. The only reason why someone would listen to her is because she is relevant and means something. She is not a leader in the party. She's not the head of the Democrats. She's not anything of any real worth right now. She doesn't have a job, particularly not a senator, not an attorney general, not a vice president. And she didn't announce her political plans either. We're going to go deeper into that one in a bit when we go to teaser stuff. But it's sparking speculation of what could happen. Right now, people are thinking California governor in 2026, Gavin Newsom out. People are saying she's making clear enough decks for that one, or a possible second run for the president without the Biden issues in 2028. I hate to keep saying we'll bring this up, but we're going to bring this up in our teaser section because this is where we'll get a chance to talk about what she's going to do. And you want to talk about this come Monday. All right, so the lawyers for Luigi Mangione are pushing for dismissal in his state murder case. The attorneys for Mangione, accused of the December 2024 murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, filing a motion to dismiss the New York State charges against him. Federal charges, the die is cast. But for the state charges, they're trying to get those kicked. They're arguing that the concurrent state and federal prosecutions violate constitutional protections, including the Fifth Amendment's double jeopardy clause. The defense contends that the overlapping charges and differentiating legal theories, terrorists versus stalking, creating a legal quagmire that infringes on his rights, basically fighting two different types of defenses. The states want to go one way, the feds want to go another way. So they have to come up with two different defenses, two different plays to take on two different teams, literally at the same time. In addition to the double jeopardy claim, Mangione's legal team seeks to suppress key evidence obtained during their arrest in Pennsylvania. That's a whole nother thing going forward. They allege that law enforcement officials failed to inform Mangione of his Miranda rights and conduct searches without proper warrants. And it also challenges the application of terrorism charges, arguing that the statuses were misapplied and that there's no evidence of Mangione and then the intimidate a civilian population. So going into weeds, essentially, when Mangione allegedly, because I called on that one, shot the man in the street, it wasn't about panic in the streets and making people go crazy. It was just about shooting the man in the street and moving on. The prosecution has until May 28th to respond to the defense's motion. State court ruling on the dismissal is expected on June 26th. Federal proceedings, including possibly the death penalty, are going to keep continuing. Oh, by the way, he's pleaded not guilty to everything, remains in federal custody because of that one. Significant public attention from this one. Supporters and critics voicing their opinions on all sorts of ways. And of course, we talked about the fact that, he's getting love notes and many people are contributing to his GoFundMe or whatever it is he's running for his legal defense. He has good lawyers and they're getting paid very well. So don't worry about Mangione. He'll be taken care of in court. Now, will the charges take proper care of Mangione in courts? Because there's Pennsylvania, New York State, and the feds. We shall see. We're going to South Carolina, Gaffney, South Carolina. Talk about Limestone University, which is closing after 180 years of service. The private Christian institution is permanently closing at the end of the current semester, which is wrapping up literally this weekend. They failed to raise $6 billion. They needed to continue operations. A 2-week fundraising campaign garnered approximately $2.1 million of the $6 million from 200 donors, said the University Board of Trustees. So they voted to discontinue both its on-campus and online programs. It just killed the whole thing altogether. It was founded in 1845. It's one of South Carolina's first women's colleges. Limestone has faced declining enrollment, financial challenges in recent years. It dropped from 3,200 students in 2014 to 1,600 in 2025. The university reported budget deficits of $11.4 million in 2023, $9.2 million in 2024. This closure will impact the students, the faculty, and the staff directly at Limestone. They pledged to assist students in transferring to other institutions and to support faculty and staff during the transit. Final commencement is happening this Saturday, May the 3rd. This is a big deal. This story is one that affects me personally, not because of school here, but because I work for a small Christian university, small Christian HBCU. And because of that, that's what's paying my bills, not this here, as many of you folks would mainly say, obviously, I'm not making enough money here. Enrollment in colleges is a big deal. I'm also a person who has a bit of a skepticism of what the college degree will get you if you don't know what you're getting. So going to college because you're being told to go to college is an issue. But if you're going to college, we want to make sure you have the best education, the best start off. You know that this is a jump point to something else. Having a university and working in university is basically almost as old as this one, makes you see what writing on the wall is. The ability to maintain the college lifestyle and maintain in the world where college costs so much, what's happening. Now, there are a lot of factors that go into these things. One is, like I said, college is seen as something it's not necessarily necessary and a big expense to get whatever you're getting out of it. More people are looking towards trades. More of these jobs that you go to college to get to as a starting point, the piece of paper, which gives you basically the starting point for entry-level jobs, which seems ridiculous. Most of these entry-level jobs you don't really need a degree for, but they're asking you for them, and it's coming out to be a big bad thing. There are economic pressures, there are demographic pressures. This was a private women's college, so it had an exclusive sort of bent to that. It's there. So it may have had bigger struggles on its own. What was basically a necessity that needed to be happening 180 years ago may not be the same here. So maybe we need less colleges. Maybe we need more opportunity in some colleges. Maybe cost of college needs to come down. Definitely. But every time we see some loss, it's one of those things where you mourn the loss of a player in the system, and you also look at the game itself and see whether the game can be sustained. So thank you for being a part of what we're doing here for the Conversation Project and things you might have heard for today. We're at the halfway point for the stories. 4 down, 4 to go. Apparently, I'll explain my coughing bit early right now. Actually, it's not so much gas. It's not so much reflux. It's not, bad coffee in the morning as it is. I'm actually dealing with some health issues. I'm having spasms that they go along with my metabolism, with my diabetes, which even my kidneys are having issues. So there's that. So we'll talk more about that towards the end. But right now, a bit of distress. So bear with me as I go through this one. Able to get through the first 3 stories without having any issues, but apparently it's catching up to me now. But if you're enjoying what you're getting out of what you have here, I ask you to sort of get past a little health stuff and work on gaining the knowledge and gaining the platform that is the conversation projects, things you might have heard, and our News Third Nation, the folks that engage here. I need you to like the videos that you're watching here on our platforms, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube. Also, like at our location, go to our website and see some other locations where we have our email newsletter and our podcast and TikTok for the hot takes, things like that. The more you like, the more I know that I'm doing the right stories. I'm getting the right commentary in. Everything's going fine for that end. And the better chance the algorithm have on sending it to other people and growing our platform, if you will. Now, like-minded people who would enjoy this type of news coverage, the coverage that you guys help us produce, we'll talk about in a moment. Share those people so they can get a chance to look at it, see it, feel it, enjoy it or not enjoy it. As I say, all the hate comments that come in are comments that come in. I'm not a fan of all the thumbs downs because they kind of suck. But if you tell them to comment, whether you like it or love it, it counts. It means something. You're not getting me directly into your feeds in whatever fashion you are. Go to our website, this is conversationproject.com, and see what other forms you might like us in. If you're watching us on X and rather see us on YouTube, there's that. If you want to see the short clips on TikTok, go with those. That's fine as well. Subscribe to whatever form you want to, and just let me know where you found me, because that's how we grow our News Nerd Nation. That's how we get more engagement. That's how I get to hang out with Reese Waters at some point in time. That's one of our goals, to be out there to hang out with those guys in the future. Be with Karen Hunter as she does her podcast and does her radio show. I do some time with Michael Smerconish. These are people that I've watched back in my role in my days producing and working on radio, news radio, talk radio, stuff like that I've been away from for quite some time, unfortunately, and trying to build that here on the internet. So help me grow, help us grow, help the whole News Nation grow. News Nerd Nation, News Nation, its own thing, growing on their own, going forward. It just so happened that 3 sports James's stories are listed here, and one of them actually deals with active sport player. One is a former sports player, and one's a guy that talks about sports all the time. It just sort of happened, so we're going to go with it. It's Friday, so we got to open up with a sort of a Friday vibe. Starting off, not great story with Tyrese Haliburton's father being banned from Pacers games after he went after Giannis in the incident with the elimination of the Milwaukee Bucks a few days ago. John Haliburton, who was the father of Indiana Pacers star Tyrese Haliburton, agreed to refrain from attending the team's games for the foreseeable future. This is following a post-game altercation with Milwaukee Bucks forward Giannis Antetokounmpo. It occurred after the Pacers actually eliminated the Bucks in the 119-118 overtime victory in Game 5 a few days ago. Following Tyrese Haliburton's game-winning layup, John Haliburton approached Antetokounmpo on the court, went into them at the bench with a towel and reportedly shouting celebrating remarks, a bit over-excited, if you will. Giannis perceived the behavior as disrespectful, leading to a face-to-face exchange between the two on the court where he should not have been, being John, not Giannis. Both parties later described the interaction as non-hostile, and John Haliburton issued an apology to Antetokounmpo, the Bucks, the Pacers organization. In response, the front office of the Pacers just said Haliburton's John will not be invited to any games, home or away, for some time, the remainder of the playoffs, and whenever they decide to bring him back there. Tyrese Haliburton acknowledged his father's actions were inappropriate, emphasizing the importance of maintaining professionalism during the games. The head coach of the Pacers, Rick Carlisle, also commented on the situation, knowing that John Haliburton's passion for this team was great, but saying that this incident was mishandled. Why have Steve Smith Sr. in the news? He's being sued under the Homewrecker law. We're going there today over an alleged affair. Former NFL wide receiver Steve Sr. is facing a civil lawsuit in North Carolina under the state's alienation of affection, commonly referred to as the Homewrecker law. The suit filed by Antonio Martinez, a former police officer and U.S. Army vet, who alleges that Smith engaged in a months-long affair with his wife, Nicole Martinez, a member of the Baltimore Ravens marching band. Martinez is seeking $100,000 in damages, claiming that the affair led to the breakdown of their marriage. In the lawsuit that's filed in Mecklenburg County Superior Court, Smith met Nicole Martinez in September 2024 while filming an episode of the NFL's Most Interesting Jobs with Steve Smith, during which he joined the Ravens marching band. The complaint alleges that Smith and Nicole Martinez engaged in sexual explicit messages over several months and met in person, including a visit to Smith's hotel room in January 2025. The affair came to light in February when Antonio Martinez posted screenshots of the messages on social media, which have since been deleted. Martinez claims that upon discovering the affair, he confronted Smith via a phone call during which Smith reportedly apologized. The lawsuit includes allegations of intentional and negligent infliction of emotional distress, as well as requests for punitive damage and attorney's fees. North Carolina is only one of a few states that have lawsuits under this alienation laws, which permits a spouse to sue a third party for interfering with marriage. To succeed, Martinez must prove that the genuine love and affection existed in his marriage, and that Smith's action actually led to his deterioration. That's a word too. As for now, Smith Sr. has not publicly commented on the lawsuit. Attention from the media, attention from national players, personalities on things like this. Not the biggest story in the world, but hey, a guy being sued for breaking up a marriage is going to pick people, especially when that guy being sued was a once very popular NFL star. So you can take this as a plus or minus, or two pluses and five minuses, because based off a quick conversation, a little quick word in the News Nation town hall with Donald Trump yesterday or day before yesterday, Trump put his endorsement on Stephen A. Smith's run for president, sort of. So during this News Nation town hall, former President Donald Trump expressed support for ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith, potentially running for president in 2028. Trump praised Smith's intelligence and charisma, stating, "I'd love to see him run." That's the line. And highlighting his entertainment skills as valuable asset in politics, saying he's an entertainer. He can get the job done. So in that same event, Smith actually threw out some pretty good fastballs and some curves at Donald Trump, who, of course, dodged them very well, did not actually answer the questions very well. Basically challenging Trump and his administrations on the role of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. And Trump defended his actions, emphasizing the merit-based approach, asserting that considerations like race and physical attributions should not factor in such decisions. Here's the thing about Stephen A. going forward. He's been extremely vocal lately in his talk on politics, and his talk on life beyond the sports world and things that's going on in the future. And as said, he's not ruling out a future presidential run. You know, he might have to run for president. Does anybody actually want this? Not really, but it's there. And if you want to back anybody who's different, you back Donald Trump. Why not back a guy like Stephen A? Does he have any real political chops going forward? Anything in his background? Not necessarily. I mean, he had to navigate the world of sports entertainment, world of enterprise, of journalism to get to where he is today, and the politics that being at a place like ESPN. And while he is a popular figure among people who want to watch him say really loud things back and forth, is he a guy that can actually handle Gaza and Ukraine and, I don't know, Mark Green? He did acknowledge some of Trump's accomplishments, basically said basically saying fair to some things, I think on certain policies, but essentially going back or saying that Trump, in his words, does not, well, let me put it like this one. Smith just said that he did not consider Trump a racist, but emphasized that he did not vote for him, would not vote for him based on his concerns on his leadership and statesmanship. He may not be a racist, but some of the things that have been done have had some consequences to folks in that look a lot like racism. Those are my words. Kind of Stephen A's words. You go from that one. So the exchange between Trump and Smith, along with the exchange on their day with Bill O'Reilly and Chris Cuomo, shows the dynamics of dealing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump did about 20 minutes on a phone interview with those three folks asking questions back and forth, essentially saying the same sort of talking points he gives, essentially not answering the questions as being asked, and basically touting how he's the greatest thing ever, which is the whole point of that one. Now, News Nation is touting great ratings and great exposure from this event. Also saying that the other networks aren't pulling the clips from it like they did otherwise, although awful announcing is that she pulled this clip for Stephen A. Smith. Basically taught it down. But News Nation was able to partner up with CW because they're in that Nexstar network thing and had all of their radio stations airing this exchange as well, including Sirius XM. So, yeah, they got exposure. They got a big night. Unfortunately, not a lot of other networks are talking about it, and it is because of jealousy. I will say it outright. Let's wrap up this week on things you might have heard with, this is not a fun story. It's not a happy story. This is a pretty ridiculous story, but this is where we're wrapping up the week. It is where it is. Alabama man arrested after rocket-propelled grenade in public. On April 29th, Dothan police arrested 26-year-old Kayon Marquez Hill of Cowards, Alabama, after multiple reports of a man carrying what appeared to be a rocket-propelled grenade, RPG, launcher in public. The device was later determined to be a realistic-looking replica. Hill, who identifies himself as a social media content creator, said that he was filming a prank video. Despite the device being non-functional, authorities charged him with the possession of a hoax-destructive device, which is a thing apparently, a violation of Alabama law that prohibits the manufacture, possession, and distribution of fake weapons that could reasonably be mistaken for real ones. Thank you, Alabama. In Alabama, while open carry of real firearms and handguns and rifles are illegal, displaying realistic replica weapons that cause public alarm is illegal, which, if it was a real rocket launcher, then questions could be arise. But since it was fake, he's going to jail. Booked in the Dothan City jail with the replica RPG seized as evidence. Police Chief William E. Benny emphasized the seriousness of the incident, urging content creators to exercise common sense, avoid actions that could incite public fear. You hear that, content creators? Don't do stupid stuff. Just don't do stupid stuff. 8 stories for the day are done. Here are some stories that are in the works for us. Well, they're done. They're out there, but they're long for you to engage in that we could talk about come Monday. Now, that's a big deal come Monday, because the next time we'll gather in this setting will be Monday for things you might have heard. And we'll have 10 stories. So there's a better chance of these stories getting there, maybe, although we're picking 10 stories from about 45 stories from over 90 candidates, as opposed to for today where we picked 8 stories from about 15 stories from 30 candidates. So these stories have to go a long, long way. Now, Army plans for a potential parade for Trump's birthday. It's actually also birthday of the Army and in the nation as well. With 66,000 soldiers, Xbox is going to raise the price on consoles, controllers, and headsets due to market conditions. That's code for tariffs. And Trump signed an executive order last night, that's going to slash what funds go to PBS and NPR. It's going to happen. It's done, essentially. These are 3 headlines that will be in the news for today. They'll have to fight a long way fight to get to Monday morning. If you want them in that fight, follow us on the feeds, engage in those stories so they get a chance to see the light of day come Monday. We'll explain more about engagement in just a moment. But first, our spotlight sponsor for the day. This is More Better Media. It's me and more stuff we do here. Today, wrapping the week up with very boring investment advice, and specifically the newsletters. Now, you can go to the website, veryboringinvestmentadvice.com, and see our very boring investment advice. It is a daily newsletter, a daily stock picking newsletter, 6 stocks to look out for. And on the weekends, the market week that was, which is a breakdown of how the market worked, and 5 to 7 stocks based on how the robot editor wants to look at things that had some impact over the week. We won't know what they are until close of business tonight. We'll see which ones kind of wrapped up the week with something on those ends. But you can go to the link inside of this broadcast and click the link for the email newsletter that's produced by SendFox. It's got a bunch of dashes and whatever. So just click on that to get the email newsletter into your box, or go to the website every day, because we produce that email newsletter every day for 6 stocks to watch. And of course, our market week that was. We also have every week an article that gives you some very boring investment advice, simple advice, something that you can put into your hands directly going forward. Now, most of the power response that actually earns money from this is from some affiliate links that are there, some banner ads, if you will, and for people who sign up through our links there for Robinhood. So you can go to a Robinhood link here on the Conversation Project, things you might have heard, or there, and you can sign up for Robinhood and do some of this boring investment advice, use it for yourself at places like that. But that's not the real kicker. This is really made for entertainment, edutainment, if you will, because I'm not a stock analyst. I'm just a guy who likes looking over data and looking over things and seeing numbers and trends, and mostly spending time talking about what I'm doing here. I'm pretty big in, if not a big investor, a big study of the markets and things like that. And so from these things here, I may tell you what I'm buying here. None of these things are any sort of ask, tell, promotion to buy. This is just for entertainment and education purposes. How to know some things, learn some things to learn on your own. So I'm not I'm an investor on a personal level. I'm not a large investor. I'm not a analyst. I'm not a advisor. I'm not licensed with that stuff. I'm just giving you the sort of things that I'm learning, going through, and so you can do them as well. Very boring investmentadvice.com is the website, and click the link inside of this presentation to get the email newsletters directly into your inbox. Stock picks come to you Monday through Friday about 7:20. Market recap about 8:20 on Saturday. It's that simple. Learn yourself something today. Figure out how these markets work. In this world right now where everything is topsy-turvy crazy, it's kind of important to know how the financials work. And so get a chance to learn. Very simple newsletter. It's just a list of 6 stocks that are interesting for the day, and a listing of the weekend stuff and some stocks that had some issues. And sometimes there are issues going forward. So check it out. Let me know what you think about it, either here or in the comments you can get from replying to the newsletters. The Conversation Project lives online at this is conversationproject.com. And what we do here is provide for you. I'm not, having hiccups that are displaying, my maybe demise, a chance to really have a dialogue of news stories. Now, what gets confusing, and we go along on this one because it's Friday. What gets confusing is when people see the hot takes, people see the commentaries, people see things like that. People are just, because they're mostly trolls and jerks, are doing what they can to, fight the fight because they think they can, and they think they're being clever and silly, when in reality, just ignoring it would be better. When I do a story about a video on something going out there, and I do an along from here and then do the clip, and they're like, there's no video. What the hell? Stop being a Richard. Let's just say it like that. When we do things like, and do some commentary on something, it's like, this guy's an openly liberal. Don't listen to what he's saying. Or this guy is all full of it. Don't listen to what he's saying. Stop being Richard and stop doing that stuff right there. The biggest thing that we're trying to proceed here in the Conversation Project is what you want to talk about and the conversation that goes along with it, not just me being an idiot, which is fine. If that's your decision to I'm an idiot, that's fine. But these are news articles from other places that other people actually took time to report on. I'm putting them out there for a way to aggregate and talk about them and give you a chance to chat them up. So it's simple. You go to our feeds on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This Is Conversation Project and X.com/TH_conversation. And every 50 minutes or so, we're just putting out news articles for you to engage. And as you engage in them, I know you want to talk about them. When I put up content on OF and you guys engage in it like crazy, I know you want to talk about them, even if they are what they are. When I put up silly stories about, and I'll say it this way, these women y'all kind of hate, y'all engage in them, I know you want to talk about them. when I put up Trump stuff and Trump, I'll do short commentary how Trump is doing something that's not so great. We get a large crowd of people who are Trump supporters who will go MAGA, MAGA, MAGA all day long and not really get in the context. And I'm pretty sure not actually watch the videos. They just click on it, see the title, reply to it, and maybe bots, which is fine. But the dialogue comes from putting the stories out there in the feeds, finding out based on your engagement which stories are worthy of chatting up, hopefully picking the right ones to present in the daily shows here, and then with the news clips and going to further, getting more detail, more commentary, more comments going forward. It's that simple. The point is the conversation. The point is the commentary. The point is talk about them, not just so much bitch about me and my hiccups. Because as I said, I might be done, which is my problem, not so much yours. However, comes an issue going forward. Now, very quickly, we've done some new things this week, and we're going to keep doing new things. Very quickly, we will get the hot shout outs to the supporters, to our partners. Cup of coffee levels include Harold Braxton, Kobe Green, Elton Kidd. That's $5 a month. And Spirit Change levels at Joy Winters. That's just $1 a month, seriously. And we take out the money for the actual fees, so it doesn't even be a full dollar. But that $16 helps to pay for things around here. So if you think I'm an idiot, they're paying for it, so you don't have to put a dime into it. But if you don't, then keep on doing what you do to have a conversation, make this thing grow into a better place, a better world, if you will, the best we could. And of course, my goal: hang out with Reese Waters and Chris Cuomo. We're shooting for it. You got to have goals going forward. So with that, this has been the Friday edition of Things You Might Have Heard, Friday, May 2nd, 2025 edition. Thank you so much for being a part of the family, being part of the show, getting this far and going forward. Give me a comment on how well we're doing, how well we're not doing, and what we can do to improve. And if it's just this guy's an idiot, he should, not drink so much. Well, maybe that shtick would actually work. So go with that one. Because sometimes, let's be honest, your comments are stupid. Because comments from many people out there are ridiculously terrible. But your comments are warranted. Because even the bad ones show a little something about what's out there and how people are engaging in things. Unfortunately, not so well. Love you, mean it. I'm going to go do some breathing exercises and call my doctor. You have a great weekend. Make sure you're checking out on the feeds all weekend long so you can vote up the stories you want to see come Monday morning. And tomorrow, we'll have a wrap-up program, the weekly roundup, that will take 12 stories from the 32 stories we presented this week and 42 stories we presented this week and 12 stories to play back for you with some sort of updates, rebuttals, or just to remind folks. Pretty sure the Rocket Launcher story will be in there just because I like it. Good enough for me. Love you. Mean it. We out of here. We're done. We will see you in this form come Monday.